Hey guys, Sean, VR1981 here with a different kind of video. One of the questions I get asked from time to time on my live streams are how do I get my chat? How do I get my TTS? So I'm gonna walk through and explain the program that I use. So to start off, it is called Sleepychat. It's a website, so the address is sleepychat.org. So the website allows you to connect multiple streaming platforms. They have four right now that you can connect to the application or the website, and then you can have kind of a unified chat experience in your live stream. So whether that's you streaming virtual reality content like I do from the MetaQuest, it gives you a really easy way to have your chat all in one place, up above you or wherever you place it. If you're live streaming other games outside of VR, like PC games or console games, and you're streaming it through a computer where you have external applications like OBS or some other tool, you can either have the chat in your in a separate browser, and all of the platforms that you connected to are all in one chat interface that you can see and respond to, or you can have it overlaid through tools like OBS, Streamlabs, etc., and your viewers can see the chat. It also has built-in text-to-speech for all of the platforms, which I will talk through how I configure mine.
To get started, you're going to want to go to sleepychat.org. This is their main website. This is where you can learn more about what the website can do for your live streams. But if you're ready, you're going to want to hit sign up if you don't have an account. You can create your own account, or you can link it to a Google account. Once you've already created your account, if you're not already there, you're going to want to click the icon in the upper right-hand corner and go into your dashboard. Once you're on your dashboard, you can control all of the settings and tweaks that you want to make to Sleepychat and how it displays your chats for you. So the first thing you're going to want to do is click the icons for the different platforms that you stream onto, and you want to link Sleepychat into to display your chats. So right now they can connect to Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, and Kick. Just below that is the chat feeds area. This is where you can make different chat views depending on where you want the chats to be displayed and who gets to see them. So I have two. I have one for OBS over here on the right. This is the overlay that I have displayed on Twitch, and that's what I use it for. And then I have browser doc copy, which is a poorly named chat feed that I created that is my in-game chat feed. So the only real difference between the two is that the browser.copy chat feed has the message compose option, so I can send messages back while I'm playing a game. And then you have some additional information. It tracks your usage, so this is where you can look at those stats. The next section is the chat editor section. So when you enter the chat editor area, there's a lot of different tweaks and customizations that you can make to how your chat is displayed. So this section at the top is where you can flip back and forth between the different chat views that you've created. So right now I'm on my browser doc copy view. So a couple of things you can do from this top section here, you can rename the view. You can duplicate it, so you can use this as a starting point for another view if you want to create a different view. You can delete it, or you can create a new one. This area over here on the right is where you can copy and paste your super secret chat link. This is what you will use as the overlay URL if you're using OBS to display the chat to your viewers. Or this is the URL that you'll use either in your browser on your computer if you're streaming something from your PC, or you can send it to your MetaQuest headset and then open it in a browser in there in game while you're playing games. That's what I use it for. The next section is enabled platforms. So if you're just creating the account and you're on the chat editor page, this is where you can toggle on and off the different platforms that you enabled from the last section that we were on. So you can see that they are kind of a light purple when they're on, and they are black when they're off. So just make sure they're on if you want to have them display in the chat that you've created. The next section is chat appearance. This is where you can tweak how the chat will actually look. So I have mine set to compact, but you can change it to comfortable, which just looks a little bit different. You can change the message alignment so they can be inline or stacked, and that's the difference between that. You can chat scroll direction. You can change the chat scroll direction from bottom up to top down. So it'll change how the new messages display and what the feed looks like when new messages come in. The message composer section. So this is important. So if you're creating a URL for your chat that viewers have physical access to, you will want to probably turn Composer off. So what that means is in this little preview display over here on the right, when it's off, all that is seen is the chat messages that are coming in, and there's no option for anyone to send any messages from Sleepychat. But if it's just for you and nobody has physical access to the chat feed, then you can turn the Composer on, and then you can send messages back to your chat from the chat display. And you can see that it'll send through as whatever platforms on Sleepychat allow messages to be sent directly from Sleepychat. And the next section is the metadata and icons area. This is where you can tweak the icon size of how the different icons from the different platforms will be displayed, how big or small they are. This is where you can turn platform icons on and off, or hide or show the chatter's display photo, and different other settings that change how the flow of your chat display will appear to you or your viewers. They've also recently added third-party emotes for Convert 7TV and Better TTV, and you can manage those settings through that link. And the next section we have is the default colorization setting for your chat appearance. This is where you can change how the chat opacity looks, the text color, and where you can allow Twitch and Kick custom name colors. So we can see what that would look like by moving the slider and looking at the preview. And then as we scroll through, there are additional settings. You can change the highlights settings. So you can enable highlighting for important messages and change the color. You have some depth and shadow settings that you can turn on and off. The next section is typography, where you can change the font size and settings options. Next section is time settings, where you can make tweaks to how the time is displayed in the chat. Next, we have the message visibility settings, where you can tweak what messages are actually visible in the different platforms chats. And you can see we have a bunch of different options for all 4 of them. So the next section is the audio settings. This is where you can enable some initial text-to-speech audio settings. You can also set sound notifications for different events, and you can set sound rules for those events. So for example, I have a sound that plays when somebody follows me across all platforms, and this is where I enabled it. And then lastly, from this settings page, the final settings have to do with message life cycles, the message history limit, and fade out messages, where you can enable automatic fade out your chat messages after they have been visible for a specific set of time. The next section of the page, which is my favorite section and one of the sections that I use a lot on my streams, is text-to-speech. So this is where you actually enable text-to-speech by toggling enable text-to-speech on. And then from here, you'll have separate settings for each platform you stream to on how you want your TTS to work for all of them. So I'm just going to use TikTok as the example that I go through and talk about the settings from. So from the TikTok's TTS settings page, obviously, each platform individually you also have to enable. So if you want TTS to be read from this platform, TikTok, for example, you'll want to toggle it on. You can set the language settings, and they have a few different male and female voices for you to choose from. So these are all so this would be the default voice for anyone who is able to use TTS on your streams. So the next section is the TTS permissions. So this is where you can toggle on text-to-speech for all viewers, followers, moderators, fan clubs, super fans, etc. Pro tip, I would not have all viewers or all followers enabled by default. In my experience, if you do that, some troll is going to come into your stream and say something inappropriate and potentially get you banned from the platform that you're streaming from, depending on what they say. And I'm speaking from experience. So take that into account when you're deciding how your text-to-speech settings will be used and who can actually use them. So for my live stream, I have to manually add anyone that I want to have access to TTS in a different part of this page, and I'll talk through how I do that. So after you configure your TTS permissions, there are trigger rules. So you can choose what messages get read aloud by your TTS. So I have mine set to all messages, so long as that the person chatting meets the different requirements that I have. Or you can use a message prefix. So for example, if you wanted someone to enter a specific character at the start of their chat message before TTS read it, you can enable that setting. So the next area is the message format. So this is how you can control how you want your TTS to read the message. So for example, if this section had nothing in it, so it was blank, when a chat message is read aloud, it would just read the chat message. But the way I have it set it up is it's going to say display name says, and then read the message. So it would say something like Sean VR 1981 says hello. So that's where you can configure how the messages are read aloud to you or to your viewers. The next section is spam protection. So this is where you can set repetitive or rapid fire TTS use settings. So this is where you can set the amount of time between messages that TTS will read a message out loud. You can also turn on or off basic repetitive spam protection. I suggest having it on, but that's a you decision. The next section is user override. So this is the section that I was referring to earlier when I say that I manually add people into TTS so they can actually use TTS. So the next section is the user overrides area. This is where you can override any of your previous TTS settings for specific users. And for my streams, this is where I grant specific users access to TTS for my streams. So it's pretty straightforward how you set an override setting. So you'll enter the person's username, you'll select which platform that they are on. You can change the language for that specific user if you so choose, and you can set the different voices for that specific user. So once you hit add, any of your previous settings that you had set for TTS will be ignored when any of these specific users send a chat. And then the last section at the bottom of your user overrides is the advanced sound settings, where you can set the max queue length, drop state, and dedupe settings for your TTS. So one thing I haven't talked about through any of these pages is anytime you make any sort of a setting change. So for example, if I were to change my message format template, a save changes prompt is going to display at the bottom of the website. So you have to remember to hit save anytime you make a change, or if you made a change and you didn't mean to, you can just hit undo change. But save as you go along if you're making changes that you want to make permanent. The next section that we're going to look at is the message filtering section. So this is where you can enable message filtering. I currently don't have any message filtering enabled, but this is definitely something that I'm going to want to look into, especially for TTS. So when you turn it on, you're going to have some different filtering behavior options that you can select from. So you can censor part of a word, censor a full word, or hide a message that contains the word that you have filtered. So depending on what option you select is how the filtering behavior will react in your chat and in turn with your text to speech. So below that, we have the custom block list. So this is where you can add different words that you want to block from users being able to say into your chat and having it displayed on Sleepychat, and in turn having read by TTS. So this is definitely a very useful option for people who get all sorts of people into their live streams saying all sorts of different things. If there are words that you don't want them to say, this is where you can remove their ability to have it come through via Sleepychat.
The next section we're going to look at is
File Manager, and this is where you can upload images, sounds, or fonts to Sleepychat that you can use in different parts of the website. So image library, you have a maximum file limit of 3 megabytes. Sound library is 1 megabyte, and font library is 1 megabyte. So, for example, I don't have anything uploaded in anything except for sound library, and right now it's just the follow sound that gets played when I get a new subscriber or follower on the different platforms that I stream to. So you can upload custom fonts, and you would do it here, and then you could make the changes in your font settings in the chat editor page from there.
the next section we're going to look at is
A relatively new feature that's been added to Sleepychat, and it is overlays. You can see that it still says it's in beta. This is something that I do use on my stream, but it has widgets that you can use to overlay in OBS or TikTok Studio or any other streaming program that you use to send your streams out. So you can see that the overlay that I'm using right now is this one here. It's the 8-bit dark overlay. There are also some pre-made widgets that you can select from and customize as you see fit. Also, you have the ability to make your own widget. So if you click on the new widget button, you can choose from a static or event widget. So static is an always-on widget that is on the screen all times and can play once or loop on the overlay without an event trigger. And then event trigger is if something happens, then an event will trigger the widget to do some type of an action. So when you go into one of these widgets, it's going to take you to the editor screen where you can make a widget from scratch. This is a tool that I have not taken advantage of, but my perception of this is that it is a powerful tool and it is pretty flexible in what it will allow you to create for your stream. So you can get really creative with these options. And that is my run through of the Sleepychat website. I've been using it for, I think, a little over a month now, and it is probably the best chat experience that I've used so far. I cannot say enough about how much I love the website. I love the tool. I love the customization tools that the website offers, the TTS features for a product that they right now offer for free. is amazing. Developer of this website is working on a premium model. They have given us a rundown of what free Sleepychat and premium Sleepychat will allow our user to do. And based on what I'm seeing, the free option is pretty generous for the amount of customization that this website provides. They will offer more options for premium users above and beyond what they already offer in their free options. So that is definitely something I'm going to check out once the premium model is made available. Thank you for sticking around. If you've watched this video all the way through, I hope I've shown you a useful tool that you can use in your own live streams, whether you're a veteran streamer or if you're someone who's looking to start out and you're just seeing what options are available to you as a live streamer. This is one of those tools that will definitely enhance your stream and make interacting with your chat a lot easier. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you in one of my future live streams. Okay, bye.